We apologize in advance for the rampant, bizarre stupidity you'll encounter at times in this podcast. We know that much of it is idiotic at best, but the gems you find may be well worth the search, and we really do care about some things. Welcome to the Shizjig universe.
You are listening to Brain Software Podcast episode 181, coming to you from the Hypnotic World Epicenter, Toronto, Canada. I'm Chris Thompson, and today, Mike Mandel and I will be discussing 3 different models for an awesome life. So stay tuned.
And as Yossarian wisely said in the book Catch-22, they can do anything we can't stop them from doing. So we took the red cabbages and made a sort of chilled borscht out of it. Well, it was lovely when served in a wonderful china soup bowl by Royal Doulton with a dollop of heavy cream on top. Well, not much of a Royal Doulton bowl, really. Just a scrap of filthy brown paper with the edges raised up and stapled together, and the entire thing dipped in vinegar. And we had no heavy cream, so we scrunched up a bit of filthy brown paper and dipped it in vinegar. But the borscht soup was much better than the usual provender. It became a hit with the chaps, and we began selling it to them at half a penny a serving, because even though it ran all over the table and was pretty foul tasting, it was still the best food available. After the borscht supper, Dennis Bryce Morgan and Johnny Brookman Ding Tilasia gathered the money they'd made, and when counted, it was discovered they'd made nearly £16, which was quite astonishing. And the two of them left in a hurry. When I asked where they were going with all that money, Bryce Morgan yelled, "We're putting it all on Lord Melbury's ballgasm in the 6th race." But seriously, my dear friends, whatever happened to that old tranquility we used to know?
These are days of victory! So let's welcome to the Brain Software Podcast, the world's foremost authority on the Branson Protocol. Haven't done that one in a while. The writer and keeper of the Hypnotic Blacklist, and the king of context-free humor, who's still apologizing to Steve Tyler for not being there to tell him what the words in perpetuity meant. So let's light the Wolfman candle, because here's Mike Mandel.
Yes, Christopher, back again, the neck not harmed. And I'm just going to tell you quickly, there was another car broken down on Lake Ridge today.
Are you serious?
Remember I said the guy with the 2 flat tires last
Yes, I remember.
week? This one, he had the hood open and a rag in his hand, and he was doing something under the hood.
I bet he was.
He was, just trying to fix the engine like he was fixing in the fixery, like Jack the freaking engine fixer.
Yeah.
I gave him a honk and a friendly wave.
A friendly wave.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't Gus Grissom, and maybe he needed a CAA/AAA membership.
And drove away.
All right.
Now, listen, we have the usual banter. Today we have some cool stuff, but hypnosis in the news. I want to talk about this right away.
Before we do, we have to make sure it's so today, we got our coffee. We're all good. Today, this episode is all about building an awesome life. Now, we've talked about that before, but this time around, we're changing it up because we realize there are 3 really excellent models for building a great life and what people need in life, etc.
Correct.
And we're going to discuss all of them and how they fit together. So it's going to be a great episode. On to you, Hypnosis in the News, boy.
Well, that's good. I just had a very interesting online discussion on Zoom with a man called Ben Kale in Israel, outside Tel Aviv. And he was telling me the constraints that are coming against hypnosis in Israel. And it sounds pretty ridiculous.
They're going to try to constrain people from doing hypnosis in Israel, Mike.
Yeah, I know.
How are they going to define that?
Well, interestingly, the man who's running the whole campaign is a psychiatrist. I think he's a member of parliament as well, which is sort of a double whammy in a way. But he's concerned, we don't want people, I guess, becoming schizophrenic or whatever because they were hypnotized. So
Right.
Anyway, Ben said this is going to take quite a while, and he's looking for experts to counter this. And I think it's nonsensical. How are you going to possibly say that you can't hypnotize people? We saw this in Ontario years ago. We had the Ontario Hypnosis Act. I fought that, and then it all fell apart.
Was it like 1996 or something?
No, it started in the 60s.
Okay.
And it was repealed as just ridiculous because you can't get 10 experts to even agree on what hypnosis is. And this is my way of going after this whole, the Knesset in Israel going after this is ridiculous. My answer is you get some experts. He's interested in talking to the Jacquins. I think he has been. Me, Richard Nongard, a number of others, Michael C. Anthony. And the point is, as Dave Ellman said beautifully, hypnosis is no more dangerous than any other conversation.
Regular conversation.
These idiots who still think it's some complex, bizarre thing getting into your brain and, causing you mental problems. My question is, I said to him, well, how are you planning on dealing with this? And he had a few ideas. And I'll end by just saying this. I said, don't forget, freedom of speech. If someone happens to go into a trance, it's not your fault. Second thing, if they're going to be determined to stop hypnosis, let's ban all films and television as well, because they create trances.
And all government messaging,
all
perhaps.
Government messaging,
I mean, repeating the same message over and over, creating emotions and giving suggestions about what people should do and not do. That can't be hypnotic, can it?
We're on this. We're going to be tracking. It's going to take months. It'll probably be later in the fall.
Are we on it like Jack the It on it?
I'm on it like Jack the Hypnosis on it.
Okay, awesome.
And we're going to be dealing with this in the frickin' dealery. So there you go.
All right. I mentioned we're not going to discuss this in any depth, but a very recent Tim Ferriss podcast.
Okay, sounds like Ken Sweatman.
He had Andrew Huberman on, and they were discussing hypnosis at some length during the episode. So maybe we'll come back to that one, but that sounds interesting to me.
Well, that's good.
I think we need you on the Tim Ferriss podcast.
Well, there you have it. I'm a man of my means and needs.
If you agree, make sure you post that all over social media. Tell Tim Ferriss needs Mike Mandel to be there to talk about hypnosis. I think that'd be freaking cool. Besides, we're absolutely massive Tim Ferriss fans. As
we are,
knows.
yeah, for our body, for our chef.
Well, it was the genesis of this entire business is reading or listening to his audiobook, The 4-Hour Work Week, back in 2008.
Hurrah!
So, Tim, you're the man. All right.
Let's get into these models, but first we have our think tank words of the day, Christopher.
And the think tank words are there because we're going to they're random words picked by you through your think tank machine, which, by the way, was confirmed that you did have the actual think tank here once. You just don't remember.
That's freaking Mandela.
What else have you forgotten?
How would I have brought it here?
You physically brought it
It's big,
here.
it's round, there's nothing I would even carry it in.
And I remember saying to you, I didn't realize that it was actually like a weird lottery ticket winner picky thing, whatever. It looked... I can describe it to you, so I know I've seen it. Anyway, it was here. Somebody confirmed it, and the whole point of all of this is... We're bringing up 3 random words to trigger our reticular activating systems on those words and see how they fit into the conversation. It's merely for fun and creativity.
Yeah, creativity, and help the brain map across with its pattern matching system. So you're going to like these
words.
Oh,
these are great.
Because they all sound like engineering words.
They're all words that I know today.
Because what was the one? The other one, penis or something, remember?
I don't remember, but it sounded something like
penis or penis.
Okay, so the first word is clamp.
Okay.
Clamp. Oh, man. So how is this going to fit in? We have to think about how this is going to fit in the theme of models for life. Models for what people need in life, what people want in life,
well, when
building
you say
an awesome
clamp,
life.
I'm looking at that clamp on your wall.
We have clamps on the wall here, which hold these
testicular torture device.
These backgrounds to when we're not using them. Okay.
You mean it's not real bricks?
Oh, yeah.
Vinyl.
In case you're wondering, it's not a real brick wall. Can you tell? Because
set up in the
brain
driveway.
Software sign, I somehow appear magically behind it. All right.
Wow.
Through the magic of editing.
The magic of television.
Thank you to Ross for
so
all of
clamp.
his
What does
work.
that say to you? What are you going to clamp together?
Well, clamp is about basically non-permanent mechanical connection, right? So we're talking about something that holds something together, but it can be undone easily.
Okay.
So it's changeable. So it's a force. Let's say it implements a force. Oh, here's a clamp right here. Here's a little clamp. Here we go. There's an extra.
A scary thing.
Yeah, don't put that somewhere you shouldn't put it. So you're going to create a force to connect things, but you can undo that and change that with presumably with no damage.
You couldn't resist it. No, you're suddenly clamping in the clampery.
So
like Jack the freaking clamper.
I do think about this in terms of personal change and building an awesome life. Let's think about the idea that you can connect things that need to be connected in your life.
Right.
But when you need to undo those things and make different connections,
there's nothing like a clamp.
You can undo them. All right. What about you? What do you get from it?
The next one is hardcover.
All right. But you don't want to say anything about clamp, or you said enough?
No, I think you nailed it pretty well there.
Nailed it. All right. Hardcover.
Hardcover.
Like a hardcover book.
Oh.
Or a hardcover guitar case versus a soft case.
Lasts longer. Soft shell, hard shell guitar case.
So more protection.
More protection. Thinking in terms of protection, maybe these 3 types of models that we're working with can protect your mental health.
I know where this takes me to. Here's where else it takes me.
Don't go to too much.
Okay, when you're ordering a book on Amazon or whatever, if they're similar price, or even if they're not,
even if they're not,
don't you pick the hardcover book when you can?
Of course.
Because why?
It lasts longer.
It's the feeling. Also, I think that it's this physicality to it. It feels more authoritative.
Right, and it's also if someone breaks into your house and your only defense is to grab a book and strike them in the face.
Okay,
a good.
But you get the
book.
idea.
4 Hour Body would do a good one.
Aside from the actual protection and longevity and all that, I feel that I have a more important piece of work in my hand when it's hardcover.
Got it.
And
yeah.
so I wonder if that will resonate through to personal communication, influence, persuasion, all that stuff. If you're the hardcover version of yourself, you're deemed more worthy somehow.
The hardcover
version of yourself.
Fritz Thompson,
there you go. All right.
This is why he gets paid the big
Worth
bucks.
the money right there, the price of admission.
Locke is an obvious one. Locke to me is at the opposite end of the spectrum of clamp.
Buddy, and it's the same thing. You can lock and unlock.
Clamp is short term.
There we go.
Which on some areas of the personage would probably do better. Then there's Locke.
Here, can I put it on your earlobe?
Oh, man.
All right.
I'm careful sitting down. I didn't do myself a disservice again.
Apparently. Okay.
Some sort of gland.
This is just way too much fun, this podcast.
No, it isn't. Not for me, it isn't at all. It's
very boring.
Okay, so lock. You're going to lock things in place. Maybe you make changes. You want to lock those. You want to seal them.
Yes.
So that they keep resonating for you, working well.
Right. But you can unlock things later if you need to.
Right.
There you go. So I think
Unlocker.
we've got some nice interconnection between these ideas.
That's it. Well, we've got 3 different models we're going to look at here. And again, they're only models. The first one is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The second one is
Tony Robbins,
list
6 human needs.
6 human needs. And the last one is the human givens theory, which is needs and also the resources we have to fulfill the...
And we're going to go through that one last because it's the longest model.
Yeah.
And of course, since the first 2 are shorter, there's a lot of overlap. And that's the main point we want you to all get here, is that these 3 separate models, while each of them on their own are awesome, there's a lot of interconnection and shared wisdom between them.
Wow.
Right?
Yes, that's
all right. Let's go. Good. I think that was a wise statement.
It was, Chris. It makes me
I must be getting older, but I'm still a 5-year-old on the inside, like you.
So, Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid. So you've got to imagine 5 different levels. And the base is foundational. Without this, you're
this is the only model that's actually a hierarchy, whereas the other ones are
a list.
They're linear. They're
lists.
Linear, interconnected, and they're lists.
Thank you.
Yes, this one you can think of it a base building up.
Yeah. So we start at the bottom, which of course the largest part is the physiological needs that are. Everybody needs. You have to have food. You have to have water. You have to have warmth. You have to have rest.
So the physiological needs.
Right. So without those, you will die.
You would starve to death. You would
thirst to death.
Cold
to death.
Is that a
and
thirst to
insomnia
death?
to death?
Yeah, exactly. If you don't get enough sleep, obviously you start going insane and all that stuff. You don't have food, you die. You don't have water.
I didn't get enough last night.
You die. You don't have warmth, you freeze to death.
Okay, so it's pretty obvious.
Things that stop you from dying.
Moving up from that, we're now getting into things of a little more reconditioned. So we have security and safety needs.
Right.
So this is going to be, a safe place so no one's going to kill you in the night.
Right.
It also means your health so that you can preserve your life and your employment. Like you have to have some means of income.
Right.
Or at least some way of mooching off other people.
Some means of getting the food and things that you need, right?
So that you can, have the warmth and the rest and so on. So then level 3, we look at love and belonging. Now, this is the relational stuff. These are the psychological needs. And everybody has these. And this is one of the things that people are, notice how serious I'm getting for a second. This is, time's up. This is did I scare you?
That's good.
No, but this is one of those things that during the whole COVID lockdown, a lot of people have suffered in this area.
Oh, for sure.
Because they don't feel loved because they're not getting the physical
What do you mean
touch.
during? Like it's over? We're still in Ontario.
I know.
I still can't legally get a haircut, I don't think. Oh, maybe I can now. I don't know.
Clearly had haircuts in the last year and a half.
Do them at home.
Illegal haircuts?
No, do them at home.
That's an unusual one you're sporting right now.
All right, but love and belonging. Okay,
so cut it with a knife and fork.
I see. I see what you were trying to do.
Yeah, I see.
I like that one.
But it said with sort of a distance. Oh, I see what you're.
Do it on camera so everyone can see who's listening. Okay, so if you're listening, you want to go to YouTube.
Someone gets a haircut or hairstyle. Do you just say? Oh, I see what he was trying to do. Fantastic. Someone actually said that to me once. Seriously, horrible. So
good.
We need love.
All right.
We need belonging. So what's belonging?
You have to feel like you're part of a group, right? And so if you don't have love and belonging, that's going to be very difficult on you. And if you're in a lockdown situation like a lot of people were during COVID-19, and let's say you live on your own
with COVID,
it's illegal to see other people, and maybe you don't have a group of friends to Zoom connect with or whatever, because now Zoom and other tools are thankfully offered some solution to this problem.
They do.
But, it's not the same as being face-to-face with someone in real life.
Absolutely not. Because there is that physical contact, and there is the whole thing of proximity, human proximity.
Right.
We need that proximity, but also that sense of belonging. That's what one of the things I really miss with all this lockdown, Chris, is the jiu-jitsu class.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just the physical contact and throwing people and doing horrendous
It's the joking around at the pub after. It's the sharing inside. It's the joking around during class, the throwing people around
during class,
and the joking around after class at the pub. Yes, I miss it. So if you don't have love and belonging, well, what are you left with? What's the opposite end of the spectrum? We were thinking. Remember when we were whiteboarding, talking about building an awesome life,
the two ends.
And I presented the idea that there are so many things that are spectrums. So you have two ends of the spectrum. So if love and belonging are at one end of the spectrum, what's at the other end?
Hatred and
hatred and being disconnected, let's say, which is going to lead to what emotions? It's going to lead to
it is the absence of love.
Depression,
it's not swinging it to hatred. I don't think that.
Yeah, let's say the absence of love would simply be loneliness, maybe.
Right, yeah, perhaps. In any case,
doesn't have to be hatred.
We have 600 more points to go through, so we're going to keep moving. I'm going to raise a red flag just for time constraints.
Okay,
here.
Before we move on, I do want to point out that we're not spending a lot of time on the base of physiological and the security, safety, health, employment, because those are kind of basics things, right? So now we're getting into the emotions and the other aspects of building an awesome life, because the first two levels, like almost everyone has those. That's not what makes people feel crap. Go ahead, Mike.
We're at level 4.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Amazing. Level 4, esteem and respect and recognition and self-esteem and status. You have to feel like you have some kind of worth.
Okay, so if we have, let's say somebody's got a family who loves them and they belong to some sort of club.
Like Rotarians.
But they're very junior level involvement. No one's looking up to them. Yeah. They don't feel particularly important. They're just, they're the guy in office. They're in the chess club who clean. They're the guy that cleans the chessboards for all the, I don't know, I made that up.
Yeah.
That you don't necessarily have esteem and respect and recognition and status in that case, right?
Correct.
But if you're the captain of the football team or the head cheerleader in high school or something, you probably have that, right? Okay, yeah, I know where you're going.
Okay.
Yeah, here's a clamp.
Thank you. So the restraint that I practice, Chris, is just remarkable. The things I'm able to keep out of the conversation.
Thank you, Raymond Reddington.
So level 5 now. This is the top of the pyramid. Mm-hmm. The eye in the pyramid. This is self-actualization, and this is being the best you can be. And that's the whole point of all these other things. Is reaching.
When you say the eye in the pyramid, you mean the eye or the eye?
The
eye. The very, yes, got you.
Like in the MI5
but it's funny because it is also the I, self-actualization, right?
Wow, coincidence?
Well, I think not.
I think not.
Okay.
So, achieving full potential. And this includes creative activities as well.
Right.
People want that sense of accomplishment, and these will dovetail across neatly with human givens theory in a moment. So let's look at the Robbins needs.
Okay, so
these are just, as you said, a list. They're not a hierarchy.
So that one was called, say it again for people to know what that model was called. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right.
All right.
And I would agree with it.
So, absolutely. Makes tons of sense. So now let's dovetail in the Tony Robbins 6 human needs model. Now, there are different ways that this has been presented in terms of the labels. Who cares about the labels? We'll talk about them and explain them to everyone. But let's start with the first one. So, certainty. And that makes sense because everyone needs to have some sense of certainty. Now, you can map that across to things like security and safety and health and employment. I need to feel certain that if I don't feel well, I can go to a doctor. I need to feel certain that I've got food in my cupboard.
Right. Do you know, or we map it across to Jordan Peterson talking about order. Mm-hmm. Order brings certainty.
Order versus chaos. Yes. That's a very good, actually, that's another model. Another model we didn't bring in.
We'll edit that out.
But we've got certainty. Certainty is just the sense that you know what's going to happen, right? You know what's possible. You know what's available to you. There you go. Yeah, you're very certain of that. Okay, so that makes sense.
That certainty brings stability to life.
And the opposite,
your spouse is going to behave a certain way. You know that your kids are going to come home on time. Like there's certainty is a safety issue for me.
And there's certainty that you want, right? Like certainty that you go home to a family that loves you versus you don't want to be certain that you're going to go home to an abusive spouse who's going to beat you up.
I wasn't laughing at that. I was laughing at my own idea. You don't want to be certain that you're going to be spending the rest of your life in prison.
Exactly. So there's things you don't want certainty in.
I just clear my throat.
But you did. There are obviously so certainty. That makes sense.
The opposite end of the spectrum now is variety.
Right, and that sometimes is called uncertainty in the Tony Robbins needs model, right?
But
what does that mean?
variety.
Why do we want uncertainty? Because it's variety. Your life is freaking
too much
boring.
order and certainty brings boredom. Yeah. So we're back to variety is tying in with Peterson's chaos again.
Right.
Not his, but his concept. So too much certainty, too much order. Leads to a regimented life, which isn't that much fun. Yeah,
boring.
Jackboots and things and all of that.
If every day was the exact same
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, right?
Who else?
I don't remember.
Too slow.
Don't remember.
What about if too much disorder comes in, chaos?
Well, then your life is a mess, right? In fact, like the desk that isn't mostly on frame right now in this video because we frame it this way on purpose.
The trajectory of this podcast,
If you look at a life that has way too much disorder, it's like the messy room, the metaphor of the messy room, the messy desk, the messy mind, the messy life.
I had a messy room,
You don't have enough certainty.
When I was young.
Yeah, I bet.
It led to a lot of interesting
So
situations. It doesn't even mean anything.
No, of course, that's the beauty.
I think I was going to go off in some
That's
tangent.
why this podcast is fun. The uncertainty. We only plan a certain number of discussion points.
Yeah.
Now it's number.
That's
I corrected
good.
myself.
Yeah.
There we go. Certain number of discussion points. The rest is all uncertain.
Self-confessed self-corrector. I'm coughing into the microphone.
Stop coughing. All right.
I'll tell you about that someday. No, listen. In fact, maybe that'll be how I'll give my. Never mind.
Let's talk about ways to. How can people then build more variety and more certainty in their lives? So let's just quickly mention that.
Well, which end are you lacking?
Right.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah, find out. And the metaphor I will come back to time and time again is imagine that your life is a ship in the water.
Yeah.
Which holes are the biggest holes in your ship? Fix those first, right?
For you mean it's leaking?
Yes.
Okay.
Assume that your life is imperfect. Your life is a ship that has leaks. Fix the freaking biggest leaks in your life. And then build the additions into your life that you want.
Significance on the Robbins list.
Okay.
Significance ties in very much with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, too.
Right.
You want to feel that there's some point to your life. Nobody wants the tedium of feeling that they're a completely unimportant idiot, right?
Absolutely. So you need to feel that you have if you have a job, if you have a role,
that is appreciated, perhaps, right?
That's the thing. So if you're on a team and you have a particular role, you'll feel significant. Whereas if you're Adam Sandler, the water boy kind of thing, you may not. You remember the movie?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, anyway, kind of hilarious. Hilarious movie. But if you are in a role where everyone's making fun of you, then you're not going to have significance. You're going to have insignificance, which is not one of the human needs.
It can lead people to depression and all sorts
Absolutely.
of things. Now, we're back to love and connection, and we've seen this in Maslow's list as well, in his hierarchy. So we know what that is.
So remember, we've gone through certainty, uncertainty, or a variety, and significance. Those are the first three.
Right. We're tying them into
gonna
order
talk
and
about
disorder or chaos.
Love and connection is the fourth one.
And now growth.
We didn't talk about
love and connection.
Love and
the
connection
same as in Maslow's list, right?
Right, it's the same thing.
Growth.
Okay.
This is kind of interesting. I like when Robbins puts this in emotional, intellectual, spiritual development. In other words, there has to be a progress in your life.
Right, because if you're not growing, they say you're shrinking or you're dying, right?
Dying
if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. There you go. Yeah. Very good. Okay, so if you're not growing, your life either you can think of the opposite of growth as being static
or shrinkage
or the reverse of growth, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're either not growing as in your life is stagnant, which probably means there's a whole lot of certainty that's freaking boring, right?
Right.
So you can see where these connect.
Stasis is, really boring. Yeah,
stasis is a better word for it, right? Your life is static.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere. What if someone told you, oh, you're not going on any more vacations. You're not allowed to read any more books. You're not allowed to go learn new things.
Yeah.
Well, that's depressing, isn't it? All these things lead to basically depression.
Well, they lead to someone being neck crank for saying it.
There you go. Yeah. So you do need some emotional stimulation, intellectual stimulation, possibly spiritual development.
Whatever that means to the individual, right? It's a big, broad spectrum. We're noticing, Chris, I'm sure you're noticing as well. You're just noticing in the noticery that these are nominalizations.
Oh, absolutely.
Again.
Because what is growth? It's not something that, as we say in the NLP world, that you can put in a wheelbarrow. It's not a thing that you can reach out and... Are you going to cough again? Okay.
Sometimes you can reach out. No, listen.
Okay. Way too
we'll
much
edit
fun.
that out.
Oh, yeah,
don't,
sure
Ross,
we
it's
will.
Too funny.
Yeah, okay.
So now contribution. This is really giving back. And Chris, despite the stupidity and the things we say for our own amusement, which admittedly are 99% of the things we say.
This podcast is partly contribution for us, partly contributing humor and nonsense, but hopefully we continue to get a lot of emails from people that says, wow, you guys, this podcast has changed my life in important
We honestly
ways.
do. And
we do.
Amazingly.
Amazingly.
The part you're leaving out. It wrecks their lives.
Very funny.
Hey, do you notice how when I put a fist out and looked to the camera, it increased the sincerity.
Yes,
I could have said we care so much, but I looked at it and went like this. I went, but we care so much.
We care. We do. We do
Although
care.
I'm sort of threatening someone with an uppercut.
But we have to care in our own hilarious way.
Yes.
So contribution, I really think that comes back to, that interconnects with, in my mind, significance.
Do it.
In his model, significance. If you are contributing, that gives you and also in Maslow's model, you've got self-actualization, or at least esteem.
Being the best you can be.
Feeling like I am someone more relevant, not less relevant, because I'm contributing. And that's why people will give to charity or sit on volunteer organizations and be the chair of a board or something
so with
like
you on that. And all kidding aside, serious. So I'm doing the hand serious means we never break that.
Oh, you haven't explained that.
That to me is one of the absolute best things about MMHA. And despite the fact that we joke about it, it's true. Because nothing makes me and Chris happier than one of our students around the world who might be a therapist or psychologist or whatever,
bringing back a story
writes to us and said how they totally changed somebody's life. One of our students is a medical doctor in Australia. He just wrote and said he ran a hypnosis seminar for the people in the hospital, for the staff. Yeah. And everybody was so happy how much better they felt. And to see that replicate, I think that's a... Scary. I think it's maudlin.
It is very important. So those are how long have we been going on?
We've been going about 20 minutes.
Okay. So the 6 human needs model: certainty, variety, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution.
Now we're to human givens, and this is slightly different because the human givens.
We've got lots of time left to talk about this.
I know,
wonderful.
We do.
All right,
but we also have a commercial coming up. Now, human givens theory basically is 2 lists. One list is the human needs, like the other lists we've looked at, with their particular take on it.
Okay, what's the second list?
The second list are the resources we have to fulfill them. So there is fulfillment.
Oh, this is good. So it's not just what do I want, it's what are the tools to
that
build
I have.
it. Right.
And that's why we save this one for last, because I like this human givens theory stuff. And they say if your human givens are being met, Griffin and Tyrrell, both psychologists,
then you'll have a great line.
Well, they say mental illness becomes impossible.
Isn't that interesting? Okay, so Griffin and Tyrrell.
Which makes me wonder which of yours are not being met.
Thank you.
I'm a comic genius. I just wrote that
All
down.
right, so if your human givens are all being met, which we're going to talk about. What?
I've got the bell within reach. That's one of my human givens.
You want to press the button?
No, I just want to have it accessible.
Okay, so if your human givens are all being met because you have the resources to meet them, which is the requirement.
Then mental illness.
Then mental illness, but not mispronunciation, becomes impossible.
Yes, I think deja vu. I think I just said that about 20 seconds ago.
I know. It's brilliant, isn't it?
No, it's not me. It's Griffin and Tyrrell said it.
All right.
So
let's talk about them, what they are.
The first one is security. Now, again, we're seeing a massive overlap.
A little bit of overlap. Yes. I know that was a weird song.
That would be more overlap.
Sorry, you're right. It's interconnection.
Okay.
A little bit of overlap.
Security, a sense of safety and security.
Yes.
Having safe territory, an environment in which people can live without experiencing excessive fear.
Exactly, because this makes total sense. If you don't feel secure, all right, if you live, let's say you live in a dormitory in college, and every single night someone breaks into your room and terrorizes you, you're going to live in fear. You don't have security.
See, I can't relate to that at all.
I know, you would have been the one doing the terrorism.
No, I wouldn't. No, not at all. I would have had it so locked up, though,
and edged weapons,
that if anyone tried to get in, I lived with a guy, and we used to scare each other all the time.
I'll give you a quick.
I set up alarms, like glasses balanced on each other, so they'd smash if he came in the room. And
well, when I went to summer camp one time, it was Prankville, right? Now, I was not a big...
Is that the name of the camp?
No. I was not a kid who had the significance and status to play the pranks. So when I fell asleep one night, I woke up in the middle of the night with a black magic marker beard all over my face, and somebody had mixed like toothpaste, Hershey's chocolate syrup, and soap, and sprayed it all over me, all over my sleeping bag and my hair. But I didn't want to admit that it bothered me. So when I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw in the mirror, I literally used my fingernails and some soap to scratch all the black magic marker
that's
off.
work. Yeah.
Went back to bed.
I can see the residue of it to this
as
day.
if nothing happened. Anyway.
Yeah, you wouldn't show it.
Do you think I felt secure during that?
Did you feel secure?
Camp?
No. Did you?
No.
Well,
and I hated it.
I had a friend, a very good friend, passed out at our place once. We were in 20s, in our early 20s, where people party and drink too much. And what we would do was when he passed out, we got an indelible laundry marker, the thick mark.
Yeah.
And we drew a penis on his forehead.
Oh, that's horrible.
With all the trimmings, okay? And quite large. And we didn't tell him. And then we went to McDonald's for breakfast. And we gave him money. He said, here, we want to sit down. We're hungover. If you order for us, you can have yours free. We gave him the money. And he's standing in line at McDonald's with this penis on his head. That was a joke. Now, that would violate Maslow's, human Givens theory of security. Maybe that's why he went on to have mental illness.
But he did have number 2, which was autonomy and control.
Number 2 is a bad word.
Right. He had autonomy because you gave him the money and you gave him the power to go order.
Yeah, we also gave him a penis on his head.
Despite the fact that you had drawn a phallus on his face.
Okay, this podcast is another one with refund written all over it. So let's move on to autonomy
and control.
Now, if you have a penis on your head, you don't have quite the autonomy and control that you think you do.
Let's connect this in with Michael Pantalon's book that we are big fans of. We've mentioned before. Not Influence, that's Cialdini.
I like to watch.
What the heck's it called
treading
again?
Water. He's treading water. Chris,
what the
heck?
Ship's
coming. Keep
Why
swimming.
is the name of the book just gone now from my head?
What else have you just forgotten?
Not Mastering Influence is a Tony Robbins program. What the heck is the name of his book again?
Frottage Clowns.
I've just lost it, Mike. So we're going to move on, and it's going to come back to me. But his book is all about autonomy.
Instant Influence?
Thank you, Instant Influence. Instantly recalled. Instant Influence, the foundational principle in that book is you have to honor autonomy.
Yeah.
Everyone
People want to feel autonomous. They want to feel they're not under the control of someone else.
Right.
And when you support them in their autonomy, it's amazing how influential you can be.
Absolutely.
So autonomy is a human givens, and you can see why that works then.
Yes.
If you're saying to the person, look, you're free to do whatever you want. I'm just offering this as an idea. As soon as you say that, they're more liable to do it.
And because
I'm highly higher register in my voice to make that point.
Yeah. In fact, think about children who have a secure home.
Yeah.
And are loved and all that, but their parents are always ordering them around and threatening them that or offering consequences. If you don't do this, then I won't do X or Y for you or whatever. I'm not taking you to that birthday party if you don't do your laundry, if you don't clean the dishes. If you're constantly telling kids what they must do, well, yeah, they maybe have security, but they don't have autonomy.
What? Now, you didn't spank your kids, did
No.
you? Okay. How did you maintain their autonomy, but influence them to do good instead of stupid things?
You just let them. I did it.
You did the.
You just let them know the logical cause and effect.
Logical.
I think if you explain a logical cause and effect relationship between things, but then you create an emotional state that has them wanting to contribute in some way.
Okay,
that can be useful, right?
The contribution can then be honored.
Yeah, but a simple thing is, hey, let's say you'd promised to take them to McDonald's for a Happy Meal. Not that you should do that; it's junk food. But
not there's anything wrong with it. We're not going.
If you promise, and you want the kids to finish cleaning up the toys in the room, you'll say something, and this comes out of Alison Schaefer, who's a Toronto-based parenting expert. You say something like, "I'll know you're ready to go to McDonald's when the toys are put away."
Nice.
There's no threat. It's
clever.
Right.
Now, my father was a master at controlling me in a good way. But you know how he did it, Chris?
No? Yes?
He would barely... No, not his crazy stuff. He would barely look up from the newspaper.
Oh, yeah.
And if I was acting up and being a bad boy, he'd say, you've no idea the things you've missed out on in life. And I go, what do you mean? Instant interest, right? He'd say, things we were going to do. And
you mean like tickets to the circus?
Well, yeah. And I said, what? Like I was a bad boy? Yeah. And you were going to take me to a circus and you didn't because I was bad? And you went, things like that, yeah. bang, did that. That would keep me on track for maybe a year. Okay, so.
All right, so autonomy. People need to feel in control of their own life. Status and status. Okay, so, and that really comes down to that sense of, well, if you look at the Tony Robbins model, you've got significance, right?
Yeah.
And that matches nicely with status.
Which leads to, as we say in Britain, privacy.
Privacy. Are you a very private person?
I am somewhat of a private person, as you know.
I think so.
I can do the public thing, like when we're doing one of our amazing trainings in the UK or Las Vegas or something, or Toronto. I can do that and I can be sociable. But I have to get away.
Absolutely. If your life, so if you think about it, what's the opposite? Let's say your entire life is live streamed on used to be called TV. Now it would be the YouTube or something.
The YouTube.
If everything that you do in life is drone coverage and webcams, you have no privacy.
Welcome to your future.
You're probably going mentally ill.
Well, I think so. And that was my childhood, as you know. I said, my sister and I counted 60 people came and lived with us temporarily. 60.
Right, and you didn't
like
like that.
A camp cot in my own bedroom with a stranger sleeping in my bed. It intruded on my privacy and turned me into
that's why you're such a private person today. There you go. There you go.
It's my story I'm sticking to.
Okay.
Attention. Receiving attention from others. Now, once we get through this quick list, before we get to the resources, we have a quick commercial break. So let's fly through these like Jack the These fly through.
All right, so we need number 5, attention.
Giving and receiving attention. Here's where human givens is interesting. Not just we all need people to pay attention. We need them to look at us when they're answering, not, looking out the window and doing something stupid. But we also need to give attention. And I would never have heard that apart from human givens theory.
That's interesting. So you're saying that we need to give attention. That's one of the needs.
Yep.
To give it.
Yep. Yeah. Human Givens calls it a form of essential psychological nutrition that fuels the development of each individual family and culture.
I guess that actually makes sense, because if all you're doing is getting attention, you're the life of the party all the time. Yeah, like
Jack the attention getter.
But it's almost like you don't necessarily have any actual outside interests in other people. Right. So if you have that interest, you will be giving attention to those other people.
Right.
And without that, it's a metaphorical nutritional aspect of your life that's missing.
Metaphorical.
Okay, I like that. Very, very interesting.
It's the antithesis of narcissism. Narcissism is all about getting attention. Getting.
And if you're a narcissist, you're mentally ill, maybe some would say.
Certainly need to work on it.
Right. And we're using the term loosely.
We're not diagnosing, just so you know. We're not doctors, but we're
so you have to give and get attention.
Said that already.
Very interesting.
So now what about connection?
Like
this is another one.
Connection. Well,
connection
that's
to a
the
wider
whole
community.
Right.
Interaction with a larger group of people and a sense of being part of the group. That's what the jiu-jitsu class.
And it's in Robbins' model, love and connection.
MMHA gives us too. MMHA Engage, our online community of people around the world.
And you know where else? Hypnothoughts Live. When we get to go to Vegas to go to Hypnothoughts Live, and it's looking like right now, as we record this in early July, second year in a row that it's looking like we won't be able to go.
That's right.
Which is it's actually quite disappointing, right? Because I'm missing out on a connection of wonderful friends that we won't have seen in a long time.
This is it. It's just it. Scott Sandlin and Richard
Clark and Stephanie Skiba and the whole team.
Stephanie, and we see all our friends, but maybe not this year again. So let's get to intimacy, emotional connection to other people. So friendship, love, intimacy. It doesn't have to be
certain privacy.
Privacy.
Privacy, intimacy. I know. There's a certain privacy that intimacy requires too. There's connection there.
There's different kinds of intimacy,
interesting.
Chris.
I
get
know.
Your head out of the gutter. It's not always about vumping in the vump.
Yeah, it could simply be
like Jack the Vumper.
Two very close friends having an important conversation, like sharing details of their lives, right? But not publicly, because you generally want privacy when you're having intimacy. So an intimate conversation, you wouldn't want to live stream, right?
Red flag. I see where.
Let me say.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got another one ready.
But I like how the connections are forming here, though. This is really cool.
Now, what about competence and achievement? Now, this is a sense of our own competence and achievement. So we have what it takes to meet life's demands. That really, to me, sounds like a sense of self-confidence.
Confidence comes back to, like it's not esteem. Esteem is when you feel important and valued, right? But competence would give you confidence, certainty,
being able.
Which really maps across to certainty in Tony Robbins' model, right? So competence.
Did you feel competent as a kid?
At some things, absolutely. At other things, not so much.
Me too. In some areas, I wasn't good at sports. I got into things like, illegal nerve centers and stuff when we had to have wrestling at class. But I was a smart kid, but there was a lot I couldn't do. I couldn't do math, still can't. Can't swim very well. I was a pretty good soccer player, but I was British. So I like lacrosse because you have a weapon, which is a fun sport. But and competency, feelings of competency came much later for me. And now I'm freaking Jack the Confident
And I
man.
was a very small child. So physical stuff,
smaller.
Where I got a feeling of competence is something like I could do chin-ups or pull-ups because I was such a light kid but very strong for my body weight.
Pounds, you do
and the bigger kids couldn't do them. So I felt very important and certain about myself in that regard.
How have you got...
And anything intellectual too, right? Like I beat my my teacher... I think his name was Mr. Hogue. In grade 6, I beat him in chess. And he was so blown away. No idea. I can't remember.
White?
No idea.
Bobby Fischer
no
remembered
idea.
every game
I got
he
a signed
ever
book, though, that I got as a gift from him. And anyway, it was really nice. But when I was in grade 6 and I was this tiny little kid, but I could beat my grade 6 teacher in chess, I felt very significant and important and all that.
Significant. Garry Kasparov, Anatoly Karpov, and Boris Spassky. I have all 3 of their autographs.
Oh, that's awesome. I know. There we go.
Now,
Does that give you meaning and purpose?
And Magnus Carlsen's. But let's talk about the final one on this list, meaning and purpose.
Yeah, and I think that fits in well with Robbins' model of growth.
Yeah.
You have to have meaning and purpose. Well, what's your purpose? It's not to be stagnant and static. It's to grow in some way.
Right.
And to also be connected and contribute to organizations. So there's a lot of map across.
Like aiming for meaningful goals, having a sense of higher calling. So it's really now hitting the top of Maslow's pyramid as well, right?
Yes,
higher calling, serving
self-actualization.
others. I think people really underplay or downplay the satisfaction you get from serving others. Remember, you and I, we always say that we have the Zig Ziglar thing. We believe you can get anything you want out of life if you help enough other people get what they want. And it's a great thing, like that feeling of, okay, where are you going?
It's not a joke. It's a serious comment.
Okay.
Everybody is selfish. Every single one of us in life is selfish. Everything that we do is selfishly motivated. And people go, well, no, I give to charity. Why do you give to charity?
No, what does that give you?
Because it makes you feel good in some way.
Yeah,
it makes you feel better in some way.
Yeah.
Right? So everything that we do is to meet one of these needs in one of these models. Even if it's for helping someone else, it still gives you something, or you wouldn't do it.
Is that why you just said that?
Yeah. Because I feel like I'm contributing.
Nice.
There we go.
I'm glad you pointed to the camera,
That's
not
it.
the monitor.
Yeah.
Now listen, we have to break for a second, Chris. Then we'll the last part of the. I'll try again. We have to break for a minute, Chris. Then we have to go to the last part of the list. Don't edit that out, Ross. It doesn't matter. And we're going to now have a commercial break. Are you ready? Tonight on the Clay Shaw Network.
The location, Toronto, Canada. Imagine a blocked subway tunnel at Yonge Street and Wellesley Avenue. Passengers on foot who abandoned their train walking south along the tracks towards College Street, desperately avoiding the third rail. The rail that holds all the electrical current, arcing and flashing in the blackness. And now, imagine someone of unknown origin opens the blocked tunnel for no apparent reason other than unbridled curiosity, releasing something horrifying. This is the story of Gadibra, son of the unknown, and it gets even worse. You see, Gadibra is not alone, but is accompanied by Megalon, bastard of the dark winds, Rodan the flying monster, Mothra the giant sphinx moth, and Triangela, master of sudden surprise with dark meanderings. In desperation, the Toronto Transit Commission engages some help, knowing full well that there's only one entity that can possibly halt the attack of Gadibra, Rodan, Mothra, Megalon, and Triangela. Driven to do the unthinkable, Mayor John Tory signs the requisite forms and summons the little white balloon. Will this desperate action signal the end of the Toronto subway system? Or can this underground horror be stopped by the greatest threat of all? Can the power of Triangela burst the latex skin of the little white balloon? Can Gadibra rally the others in this underground fight for survival? Or will the little white balloon flood their beds and fly to the moon, leaving them all dead on the tracks? Don't miss the chilling suspense tonight on the Clay Bertrand Network, episode 1 of a brand new series. The Japanese movie monsters versus the little white balloon. More terrifying than Dracula goes surfing, more horrifying than Werewolf in Paradise, more catastrophic than Santa Claus versus the Martians.
That's right. Tonight at midnight, Toronto time. Right after the Honey Hallmark show. Okay, now we've looked at all the needs in human givens. Let's go
Press
to the resources.
All right,
Press
so
the blocks,
what do we
man.
need? Oh, I like this list here.
It's good.
So the first thing on the list is memory.
Yeah, because human beings learn from their mistakes. We can learn from our mistakes. We can memorize vast reams of information, as I certainly have, and then apply it to different tasks when needed.
So memory gives you the ability to correct based on past mistakes.
Right,
Okay.
the ability to develop long-term complex memory. Now, rapport is another, and we talk about this one all the time.
Well, yeah, you're not going to have a sense of connection if you don't have rapport with other people.
Right,
so
right.
that's an obvious one. You need rapport, which means you need other people in your life.
Good point.
And that's why people on desert islands in movies usually go mentally ill.
Welcome to Fantasy
Draw
Island.
faces on beach balls and stuff.
Yeah,
Wasn't there a Tom Hanks movie?
Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson. That's
right.
That's to keep himself sane.
You
He had to
cried when you
imagine.
saw that, didn't you?
I think I'm still crying.
Okay.
All right.
Imagination. This
Imagination.
enables
Ooh.
people to focus their attention away from their emotions and problem solve creatively. In fact, it's what they call a reality simulator. The idea is human beings, we have the ability to step outside our situation, look at it in a
to
dissociated
imagine
form.
various possibilities.
Yeah, you're frozen from it with a lot of... And then you
to,
said it.
to imagine possibilities.
Yes, possibilities,
Right.
and work things out.
Right.
So,
which is why things like meditation, self-hypnosis, where you're doing guided imagery to imagine various outcomes, to put things from your past into garbage cans and onto the highlight wall of your life, or whatever it is.
That's really good. You've redeemed yourself with that alone.
Right. There
Not
we go.
thoroughly, but
So
what about
imagination.
instincts and emotions? These are basic responses we have
From calibration and from
Right.
memory and from past
and
experiences.
past experience. It's these are propulsions
Mm-hmm.
for behaviors. Emotions will drive our behaviors in different ways, positive and negative. So we can use those to get the job done.
And if you think about it, so it says instincts, which to me was the calibration. Instincts is more like, gut feeling. Well, that's you calibrating something based on
Spider
past
sense.
experience, right?
Yep.
But emotions, which is also on this list, imagine if you could not feel emotion.
Right.
I mean, you're going to, or it's not that you can't feel it. Imagine if you bottle them up consistently, just let them
repress them.
build. Right.
Yeah.
What happens to people when they bottle up their emotions? Why do we
They
call
come
it
flying
bottling
out
them up?
like
Because
Jack the frickin'
whoa,
Outflyer.
right?
Yeah.
It's when you drop one of those what those candies, those candies that they drop into a bottle of Coke and it goes whoosh, crazy. You know what I'm talking about?
No, Chris, I don't.
Oh, those little white sugar candies or whatever, that effervescent.
little white balloon.
There you go. Anyway,
Okay.
I don't know why I can't
No
think
idea.
of this right now.
I don't know why you brought it
yeah.
up. Now,
well,
a
the idea of
rational mind, which is what we're
things
trying
exploding.
to get here, a rational
Right.
mind, Chris, a conscious, rational mind that can check out emotions, questions, and analyze and plan.
Okay, so this is some of the left brain stuff, some of the conscious analysis. You have to be able to think and plan and analyze.
Right. Now, connected to the whole idea of imagination, it says a metaphorical mind and the ability to know, to understand the world unconsciously.
Well, that's actually nice, eh? Those are the two halves of the brain right there that we tend to think about, our left and
Metaphoric
our right.
matching. This is like that. And it's the two hands. So it's...
So
Yeah,
there's
done
a
that a lot
sense
in this
here
episode.
that you need a lot of schema and background information and knowledge. And of course, memory ties into all this that we just said.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely
building
does.
your schema that we always talk about on this podcast is an important thing to having that rational mind and
It is.
metaphorical mind.
And I sort of made a mistake about talking about the observing self when I talked about imagination, but this is saying an observing self. The part of us that can step back, be more objective, and recognize itself as a unique center of awareness. apart from intellect, emotion, and conditioning. So
Which
it's really the
is
ability
like
to dissociate.
In NLP, we would call that
hypnotists. We know this
dissociation.
stuff.
So and actually, that's the nice thing, because Griffin and Tyrrell, they have NLP training and hypnosis training. These guys aren't just making this up on the back of some randomness, right? There is a connection here. Okay. Fantastic.
That's good.
So,
and a dreaming brain, finally, according to expectation fulfillment theory of dreaming, the idea that dreams are enabling you to live things from the day that are unresolved emotionally.
which is, do you actually mean dreaming during sleep, or do you mean the idea of daydreaming?
No, dreaming during sleep.
Okay.
To depotentiate emotional arousal from that day.
Aha, and that's why when you read their book, you said they taught that dreams are to resolve emotions from...
That's right. So that you're always waking up with a tabula rasa, a clean slate.
Okay,
It's
so
like,
dreaming
last night
is
I dreamed
basically
I pushed
like
you off
a
a building.
Oh,
so
but you've forgiven yourself already.
in myself, yes.
Okay, so dreaming is in a sense cleaning up your brain
That's
at
right.
night. Okay.
That's it. And
dealing with the...
That's why these sleep learning things typically don't work, because dreaming is not time for taking
learn.
in new
Yeah.
information. So let us now go to,
This is so fascinating.
It is,
I
Chris.
love this stuff.
And that's why we go to the empowering question.
Okay, so here is your empowering question for episode 181, I believe it is, right? Yeah, I think I said that. I remember.
That's
I
good.
have memory.
That's very good.
All right, ask yourself, so of these three models that we just looked at, remember we've got the Maslow's model, we've got the Tony Robbins model, and we've got the Human Givens model, right? So ask yourself, which of these models seems to make the most sense to me, and how will I immediately apply those learnings to my life?
Nice.
Ba-dum-tsh.
Very good.
All right.
I got a MetaFIVE for you, and it's the story of Gorgo.
A MetaFIVE is like a metaphor, like,
Only one
but
better.
it's better. Okay.
Now, in 1961, I
Gorgo.
checked the date online. 1961, a British film came out called Gorgo.
Uh-oh.
And it was about this Gorgosaurus is found, and some mythical dinosaur.
Okay.
From, the usual weapons or something, atomic weapons, bring this thing from the bottom of the sea. And it comes into London and is like attacking buildings and stuff. And they capture Gorgo and they put it on tour, almost like a circus animal or something, which is kind of sad. The sad thing about this, though, is 1961, I was 8 years old. Everything in the news was about Gorgo, this new movie coming out at the Prince of Wales Theatre down the road from us. I was so freaking excited about seeing it. They said Gorgo is not a horror film. It's actually an interesting human interest, a deep felt film about animals and stuff. I so wanted to see it because we were into drawing robot dinosaurs attacking tanks and stuff back then. And so I was going to go see Gorgo, except something intruded, Chris. I got the mumps. I had all of those childhood diseases: chickenpox, mumps, measles, and rubella, which is German measles. So I've got antibodies to all of them now. I got the mumps. My neck swelled up like Jack the frickin' Sweller. I lay there mumping in the mumpery for like a couple of weeks. Now, for some people, it moves from the lymph nodes there, and they can actually get it in the testicular region.
Oh.
I didn't get that, God be eternally praised. But my neck was puffed out like a freaking puff adder. And I was very photosensitive as well. So the blinds had to be shut, and I didn't feel well. I miss Gorgo. It was there for a few days and then was gone. And here's what made it worse. There's a scene I so wanted to see where Gorgo's mother comes to rescue him. You think he's huge? And then she comes in like Jack the frickin' Huge Lizard and starts attacking London, which was awesome. I knew all this was in it. And the kids at school all wrote me letters because I was sick. The teacher got them to do it. A bundle was brought, and every damn kid in the class talked about Gorgo. We saw Gorgo. Gorgo was amazing. Just rubbing it in. It's why I am the way I am today.
Buddy, just be glad that you didn't get it in the testicles, because then you didn't do yourself a disservice.
That's right.
And with that, we close episode 181 of the Brain Software Podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you visit our website, MikeMandelHypnosis.com. There's all kinds of awesome stuff you can get there for free. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And after you do that, ring the bell, because that way you'll always get notified of our newest videos. Drop a comment on YouTube. We would love to hear from you. Ideas, thoughts, considerations, and horrendous insults. Maybe skip those. And we'll see you in the next episode.
We will.
Thanks again, and
Good night.
Mr. Thompson, I ever tell you the wonderful story about the birthday party in the trenches?
No, I've not heard this one.
It's wonderful. We realized that Johnny Blickerton Kurt Tepperwein Stentorian Alaklaka had a birthday coming up. It was his 22nd, and that's a big one in Britain because it's the big number 2 twice. We call it the Little Ducks. And so, anyway, Bryce Morgan arranged to have a cake baked for him. Wonderful cake. Not much of a cake, really. It was more a wedge of pork fat wrapped in some brown paper and decorated with staples and sprayed with vinegar. But we put his name on the cake. But we couldn't put Blickerton Kurt Tepperwein Stentorian Alaklaka Happy Birthday 22. The cake was only this big. So we just put Alaklaka, and that became his nickname from then on. It was the most wonderful thing. Every time we'd see him, we'd say, oh, there's Alaklaka. It is... Oh, I miss the war.
Are you done yet? Do you want some water or something?
I got coffee.
You're
We're
just
back.
killing me. Go drink some fucking water.
Listen to my voice.
Your voice, you sound like you're about to die. So let's let this Ollie's interrupted the show. Make sure the swearing doesn't work its way into the podcast, not
That's
even
right.
in the outtakes, unless
Never.
you're beeping it out.
Yeah.
And that would be kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
Make sure the swearing doesn't make it into the podcast. That's
right.
it.